Welcome to the Unlocked Life podcast, Jill. Jill is one of my clients, and she was one of the first long-term clients that I had whenever I moved from being an hour-long treatment kinesiology practice into much deeper work around not just health, but life shifts and transformations. Jill is now a friend of mine, which is so cool. We met through this work, and it's just been beautiful to, I guess, watch your shifts change still and also get updates on how life is at the minute. So, first of all, tell me, how is life today? Like, it's Monday. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I really enjoyed the rain this morning
Mm.
after a few hot days. I'm feeling nervous to do this live, not because I'm nervous to talk about this subject matter. I'm actually so excited to talk about this subject matter, but just because this work has been so meaningful to me, and I feel like I really want to do that work justice in this call. So hopefully we can. And I'm having a very relaxed day because, spoiler alert, I quit my job, which I'm sure we will come on to. So I'm chilling.
Yeah, and I was saying to Jill before we hit record, I also feel nervous today because there's been such a big shift and so many new beliefs coming in, and we will get into that. I want to really give everybody who's listening a real good taste of the transformation process for you, Jill. So, with that said, let's get stuck into before we met or as we begun this work, what brought you into digging in deeper?
Yeah. So I think the headline is that I just didn't feel satisfied with my overall level of health. I'm a young person who generally tries to live a pretty healthy life. And I felt like I was having symptoms of like a much older person or a much more unhealthy person. Like, primarily at that time, what was going on for me was a lot of inflammation in my body and a lot of lower back pain. Like, I was thinking back to when we met, and it's actually when I came to one of your events, one of your Sunland and Seas, and my back pain was so bad that I remember having to message you in advance of the event to find out how I was going to sit and sustain that level of time on the ground, which is just wild to think about. At that time, I was constantly swinging between two extremes. Either I'd be in a phase where I was very rigid, strict workout routine, strict diet, full control mode, or I would be looser, but drinking more than I wanted to, skipping my workouts, eating in a way that didn't feel like it was good for my body. It was very all or nothing because I felt I couldn't have a sustainable routine. And even when I was in discipline mode, that discipline never lasted because I'd always have this energetic collapse after a little while. Coming to work with you, I knew I was a very externally motivated person, and I thought working with a coach might help me get to the perfect routine that I could stick to. This was my misconception. I think that's what it was all about at the time. It was about finding the perfect formula and the perfect day and understanding when I should wake up, when I should go to bed, what I should eat, what I should do. That was wrong. I found
Mhm.
out this work
Mwahaha.
ended up being about something completely different. It really wasn't about food or fitness at all, or even about having external accountability. It was about having a space to start untangling some of my patterns and to reconnect with my body and my sense of self and my own intuition. Yeah, and just starting to shift in terms of how I think about myself and what I deserve. This work has been really different than what I expected it would be and has been totally what I needed. I guess that's really what I'm hoping to talk about and communicate about today because I think this work is so important and I really want other people to feel inspired to do it.
Thank you, Jill. And I mean, we've had many conversations about this, about your process, but also the clients that I have now, clients that I'm calling in the future. As time goes on, it's less and less about health for me, even. And that's not to say that we don't touch health. It will always be the foundation because what I would love to ask you about a little bit more now is when you felt the most basic nourishing habits or at least tendencies start to come in your day that didn't feel as regimented. It was more intuitive of like, this is what I want. This is what my body wants. This is what feels good. Let me build up a toolbox and pull from that how I feel every day. We lay that foundation for health. You unlock this like new capacity for, I guess, choice in so many other realms of life. So I'd love for you to speak a little bit on what you noted. First of all, what were the actual health things that you started to bring in? And from that place, how did that leak into other parts of your life?
Yeah, so the actual hard things were like getting outside in the morning, getting light, really trying to up cold swimming, hot and cold therapy, that kind of thing. Things that felt so small, also blue light bloggers, like while I was working,
Mm,
changing my light bulbs in the evening. These just felt so small. And I think even at that stage, I was like, right, okay, this is just us laying the foundation. And then I'm sure week 3, that's when I'm going to get my food plan that if I just follow that, then everything's going to be fine. And that's when Maria's going to tell me how much I should be exercising. If I just do that, then everything's going to be fine. Our work together didn't transpire in that way. And I'm sure we'll come on to what some of our more deep work was. I was really floored by how much of a difference to my overall energy levels making those small changes made, and also the level of trust that it started to build in myself. They felt really easy to do every day. It didn't feel controlling, it felt very nourishing. And I think that kind of started to shift my opinion about my ability to look after myself long term and my ability to really trust myself to do the right thing for me. And that was very important for the next step in this journey that then came.
yeah, I love that idea of building trust. I
Yeah.
can trust me, and
Mhm.
it's not I can trust me to find out the calories of my lunch, or I can trust me to weigh. To me, that doesn't feel like that nourishing, trusting relationship. It's the simple things of can I get sunlight so that my body can then do its own thing? And for
Mhm.
anybody who has been in my space for a while, you'll know sunlight is such a key pillar for so many things, emotional health too. But really, whenever we get the right light signals, we almost just need to let our body do its thing. We don't have
Yeah.
to control it and micromanage it throughout the day.
Yeah.
And food is a big thing, and people always want to talk about food. And I love talking about food because my journey also, like Jill's, started out extremely black and white. It was all or nothing. I was so strict and so regimented, or else I had given up on myself and collapsed. And I don't want to put pressure on people and say intuitively eat, but there is a level of intuition of like, I'm feeling like I need more of this. But overall, for people that that might be a little bit too far just yet, the basic concepts of protein, fats, carbohydrates, and keeping things ideally as seasonally as possible. Enjoy your strawberries in summer, enjoy your squash in winter. I don't want to speak for you, Jill, but what I have observed through our work together is that the pressure of food and even the pressure of exercise is just not as consuming. It's so flowy for you now. So
Mhm.
you're giving your energy to bigger things.
Yeah, exactly. I'm really glad you said that phrase, giving my energy to bigger things, because I feel that making changes to my light diet. I remember the first time hearing you say that phrase, light diet, it was really impactful. And making changes to how I experience daylight, how I protect myself from blue light in the evenings gave me like, I felt like unstoppable energy. And
Mhm.
I was able to then direct that energy into making bigger, more meaningful shifts. I was really surprised at how much of a difference it made. And it felt like such a nice way to start because it's easy. It's not as hard as following a diet or an exercise plan. It's super easy to get yourself outside every morning. It's super easy to watch your blue light in the evening. It was amazing to see the impact that had.
And from that place, I remember the first 2 weeks that I heard about light diet and started those practices myself, I felt like a new person
Yeah.
because for the first time, my body was so strongly telling me, I want to go to sleep now. I
Yeah.
want to wake up now. It was like, wow, before I was like dragging myself to go to
Mhm.
bed, dragging myself up in the morning. It's so beautiful whenever your body's cues get really, really strong. And that's often down to light, our light
Yeah.
diet. So
Yeah.
from that place then, Jill, you were saying the bigger things, like we were able to pretty quickly actually with you
Yeah.
move into, okay, what's really deeper here? Like what's really going on beneath the health foundations? But these things had maybe been holding you back for years.
Yeah.
It's deep work and it's not always comfy, right?
Yeah. Definitely. And Maria's work went to a very deep emotional place, even in either a first or second session. I'm almost reluctant to share this bit because I wouldn't want to scare anyone out of this work. I feel like I was crying about something that had happened in my childhood within about 10 minutes of the first session. I'm so happy that that happened because it was the first step to unlocking some patterns that have really stuck with me and held me back for years and years. And that has been the core of this work. It came as a complete surprise to me. That's where this work was going. It's maybe not even what I would have necessarily signed up for if I had fully
Wow.
understood that's what I was coming to. I think I either wouldn't have felt ready or I would have felt that's not what's going on for me. I'm just trying to get like exercise and diet accountability here. This is not the kind of coaching I need. And that was so wrong. That was exactly what I needed and really helped me to understand that a lot of the ways I was showing up for myself in my life at that time had been established decades earlier in childhood or young adulthood. I moved to London as a young adult. And yeah, I had developed patterns that served me then and served me at the time, but were holding me back in my life now. It's that undoing, that unlearning of those patterns that has had the most significant impact to how I behave, how I look after myself, how I show up emotionally in my relationship with myself. I would say that my relationship with myself has drastically changed through doing this work. It's much easier for me now to live in a way that is sustainable and healthy for me because I'm not trapped just repeating the same over and over again.
Yeah, and I mean, the name of this podcast is Unlock Life because that's
Yeah.
what I see happening. Yes, we set the health foundations, but once we really get to the deeper parts of you that are locked up in a story we think is real, and we can bring light to it. It's deep work and it's heavy, but it is the best. An unlocking, a freedom that comes from that. We talk about shifts in belief. So you're unlocking part of yourself that has been chained up by this story. You're reclaiming it or remembering it. And how we think or see or talk about ourselves or shifts in what we believe about us changes. And that's exactly what you're talking about. And that's what we see. So I'd love for you, is there any that really pop up in your mind of a big shift or little shifts in your belief about yourself?
Yeah, like so easy. So I think the biggest shift has been moving from a place of looking for external validation to developing a much stronger sense of internal validation. For a long time, I measured my worth like through achievements, my career success, how productive I was, how in control of my life I was or appeared to be, like even what value I brought to others, like in terms of what I gave or prepared for them rather than just existing as a person. That pattern helped me survive and be highly successful, but it was also very exhausting and never going to be enough because those goalposts like always shift. So I almost felt like I was just keeping chasing a version of myself that wasn't quite enough. And like as I said, through this process, started to understand that although those patterns had protected me or even aided me earlier in life, they were no longer needed. I had outgrown them. They were no longer relevant to the person I am today. So just having permission to examine those and to gently let go of them has been really impactful for me. Yeah, and choosing to live life differently from a place of self-trust rather than a place of self-discipline, maybe. That's been really game changing. And I guess like that inner shift is manifesting in a big way externally, including recently quitting my job. Like I really put that down to this shift. I had a job that was very prestigious. It was a job that I trained very hard for many years, would definitely be seen by people as a very successful job. And it was a job when I told people what it was, they would say, wow, that's so impressive. And I think that kept me locked in it
Mm-hmm.
because, if you're someone who is relying on external validation and people are giving you that, then you're going to stay in that environment, even though it might not be right for you. And yeah, it just feels so good to kind of think, okay, well, like even if other people are impressed by my job, like it's not them that's doing it every day. And like this is my life and I only get one chance. So I need to be doing things that are correct for me and not things that impress others. That's why I felt the freedom to step away and take some time for myself just to enjoy. and then think about what I want to do next without the fear of, oh, but like, what will people think of that? Or like, what if I never have a job like that ever again? That's okay because I know what I need and I'm able to make those choices for myself without worrying about others.
It's like the ultimate act of this belief. I mean, it's there, like you are deserving. Whenever we get into the inner child work, it's seeing like, oh my God, this whole time just for me being here, just for me existing is enough. Naturally, the world will make us think otherwise and how we're raised in school and whatever. But
Mhm.
whenever we got down to that real belief of Jill being enough just for existing as you are, what you've done, that courageous step is so
Yeah.
beautiful because it's a
Thank
real
you.
outward reflection of all the work you've been doing, Jill. You mentioned getting clear on how you want to live, taking time to be like, okay, if I get to choose, what is it? This reminds me of trying to narrow down the essence of the work I'm doing with clients and how to build that into the mastermind coming in June 2025. More of a community or group space for multiple people to work through together. The two big things are authentic desire, your authenticity as a being. What would you long to be like? How
Mhm.
do you want to exist? Unlocking the patterns and the stories that stop us from just existing in that space. I'd love to know, this is a little fire question, but the essence of your authenticity or how you feel is like, this is what I've been yearning for. This is how I really want to live. Are there key themes or key words that pop out for you?
Right now, the key word is rest. Like,
Mm,
I really
yeah.
think I've been craving deep rest for a long time. I've needed a break. And it's not to say that I won't go back to the type of work that I was doing before, which I really do enjoy. But I've felt like the phrase I've been saying to people is that I felt like I've been on a treadmill since I was about 16 because I was high achieving and I loved that external validation. So the more I achieved, the more I wanted, and you just kept going. And this is what I mean by shifting goalposts. And I think I would not have given myself permission before to just be, to admit that I needed rest. And even if I had admitted it to myself, to actually take steps to achieve it for myself, which in this case is taking some time off over the summer. What will people think? Or what if doing this means that I'm not able to achieve in that way that gets me external validation? But I know that's what I want, and like that's now what I'm getting. Yeah, I think I would just say to others and to myself, you are allowed to want more, even if everything looks fine on the outside. Even if you have a job that you worked really hard to get, or a life setup, or a relationship, even if people would say, oh, you're so lucky to be in that position, if it's not working for you, you're allowed to want more and you're allowed to make a change to get what you need now.
Yeah, and I think there's this culture of like, there's people who really are struggling way more than you. And that is true. And also, I don't feel like we should intentionally limit ourselves to make other people feel better. If we're all flourishing, if we're all unlocking, all we're going to do, that's going to be a knock-on effect for other people. You're
Yeah.
going to inspire so many other people who are in this position or in the position you were in, Jill, to then be like, I have more. I can want more for myself as well.
Yeah.
One of the things that you mentioned there, and this is the shadowier side of this work. So we've
Mhm.
talked about going into the inner child. So what that practically looks like in our work is moving into a very relaxed meditative state, really going back to whatever the trigger is that's coming up, going back to, well, when does this remind you of what in the body, what in your mind, where does your mind take you in relation to memories experienced when you were younger? That usually will give us a lot of insight into, okay, little Jill
Mhm.
learns that she had to do X to get Y, whatever
Mhm.
it might have been.
Mhm.
How would you, what advice would you give to people who feel like they're being constantly bombarded with different stories or different beliefs? You know, whenever you're moving through this work, Jill, I'm sure there was a period, because I can remember, and I know this from my own process, it's like we unlock something, it feels great, and then it almost is like the floodgates open. Whenever you gain more awareness for how you act and how you live in the world, you start to pick up on lots of little stories that have been created in the subconscious mind. Is there any advice for people who are currently moving through this work, or maybe it's the first time and they'd rather just pack it in. They wish they didn't started.
First thing to say is there's a reason that people call this work.
Yeah.
It's really hard and it's not always pleasant doing it. It throws up a lot. There would be times when our call would be coming in the calendar and I'd be thinking, I really don't want to do that today.
I know.
But it has been so worth it. It has been
Yeah.
worth every single difficulty. And I cannot emphasize enough how shifted my relationship with myself is for the better through having done this. And that is bleeding into every area of my life, not just these major life shifts, but also just how I talk to myself. I can feel emotion coming in my face because I feel so happy about this. Just keep going is what my
Yeah.
advice would be. If you haven't started, start. And if you have started, keep going because it absolutely is worth it. Like how we feel internally, how we commune with ourselves, that is the bedrock of how much we can enjoy life, how much we can get out of this human experience in this human body that we are all having. I wish I'd started it earlier. I'm so happy I have started it. It's just really worth doing.
All of our relationships stem from how we are with ourselves first.
Mhm.
Every annoyance, every upset in your day, every work pickup, or every frustration with your partner or your child or your friend, that will all change whenever we invest energy in how do I actually feel about myself? How do I like myself? How can I care about myself? What did little me need and how can I give it to her or him now? It is work. It's not easy, but it's the best type of work, I think.
Mhm. I
Um,
think my advice for anyone thinking about starting this kind of work or coming to you is that you will be extremely surprised at the links between patterns that you have held going back into childhood or earlier in your life and the areas of your current life they are impacting on. We've spoken about lifestyle changes like diet and exercise feeling so free flowing and easy now. But I want to like be clear with people that like the inner work I was doing on the surface had nothing to do with those. We weren't talking about things that had happened in my childhood relating to diet. The links were much more unpredictable by me, I think. Therefore, all the more important to do because what we're not aware of, we can't work through or understand the impact of. You might be surprised at what from your earlier life is
yeah.
holding you back in your adult life now. And it's
Yeah.
really good to examine.
Yeah, it makes sense. We always take time to really support you. To me, that's what the health foundations are for. How can we give you that steady ship so that whenever we start to dig in, you the strength to hold it and you can keep moving on with your life and keep feeding and nourishing yourself. The process of digging deeper is really taking what is triggering what's coming up in your everyday life, examining that on a deep level and connecting it back to a pattern you created when you were young to keep you safe and survive that
Yeah.
we don't need anymore that's now hindering growth.
Yeah.
And so for anybody that's listening, and Jill, you can pop in any that you remember working through, but the main ones really that I see in myself and also clients that I work with is this idea very often with health, even at a basic level. I don't deserve that much care. Selfish of me to look after myself that much. Or who do I think I am to spend that money on myself or to take that time to prepare food? We can go so much deeper, but it all comes back to this idea of am I worthy of the care and the love that I could give myself?
Or even for me, and I know for a lot of other people, that your value is in your achievements. And so your
Yeah.
achievements will take precedent above everything else, including looking after yourself. You know, that's something that comes way down the scale in terms of importance.
I love that one. And when you said that as well, it's another story is the always feeling less of a priority than others. Oh my goodness, so common is the belief of I don't deserve to go first. It should be other people. I should be making sure that everybody's happy before me. But yeah, there's so many different blocks, different limiting beliefs that we do work through. And whenever we can unlock that, it's like magic starts to happen in your life. Were there any little things that came out of nowhere where you were like, oh my God, this just happens in my life now, or these fun things happen now that I'm subconsciously unlocked from old stories?
It's a good question. I think just feeling so much less anxious about how I'm living my life and what my healthy habits are. Tracking. I'm just intuitively doing what feels good. And yeah, it's mad how much easier it is to have the willpower to live in a healthy way when you have dropped the anxiety about that. Your anxiety is eating your willpower, basically, I would
Oh
say.
my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll rephrase the question as well because it made me think there are little things too. I was going to ask this at the end, but I'll ask it now because it connects. What are the little things, Jill, in your day now that remind you, oh my God, I'm living my unlocked life. I am not locked into the life that I used to think that I had to live, big or
Um,
small.
just having so much more freedom of time and actually giving myself the rest that I need. Noticing when the productivity demon creeps in and noticing when I'm like, I should do this or I should do that. What I want to do is rest. Go out for an ice cream. What I want to do is like,
Yeah.
have a lie in and just feeling much less restricted in terms of having to follow a regimen of things I have decided I should do.
Yeah, you said last week we were chatting about the should. I love that.
So something that I believe, having done this work and explored this area, is anytime you hear the word should, that's usually not your voice. That's usually your worried self or societal pressures or maybe the voice of people around you that influence you. Anytime I'm hearing myself say I should, I try to replace with I want or like I would like to. Yeah, usually it's not the same thing that you should do and that you want to do.
Yeah.
And in experiencing that freedom, it's not like because I always do what I want to that then I'm just treating myself really badly, partying, eating badly, not exercising. It's giving myself the freedom to trust my body, trust myself, know what I need, and push when it's right to push, but rest when it's right to rest.
Yeah, and I think that's what's so different about this type of health coaching. It's kind of a bit of a hybrid. What I emphasize to people whenever I'm working with them is that ideally we want to live in the gray. We never
Mhm.
want to live in black or white. And if you feel like your only way to achieve the health you want is to be in either of those, that's all inner child work that we need to do. That's all deprogramming and reprogramming and beliefs that give you that self-trust.
Mhm.
Trust myself that I can go out and party. I can do this. I can eat whatever. Because I trust myself. I know what to do the next day. I know what I'll need. And I can do that without eating up at your self-esteem or
Yeah.
self-confidence or making ourselves feel like a bad person that we've done
Yeah,
wrong.
totally. Like talking negatively to yourself, beating yourself up,
Yeah.
being able to step away from that, like into I get to.
Get to
Mhm.
freedom,
Mhm.
voice with
Yeah.
all of this. I love it. Jill,
Yeah.
I have a few little mini fire questions if you're game.
Go for it.
Just to finish up, is there anything else that is on your mind? And if not, we'll just go straight in.
If you're feeling the tug to do this work, do it. If you say yes to the discomfort of doing it. What lies on the other side is so worth that little bit of discomfort. Just go for it. Listen
Yeah.
to the tug.
And unlike Jill, when you came into this, all that was there was one to one. And while that is the best way to get the most deep, it also speeds up your process so much whenever you're working one to one with someone. But also for people who are listening that are like, oh, I feel like this is the next step for me, or this is what I need, but I'm not sure. There is also the mastermind, which is really when I was working with you and the other lovely women in my space, I noticed that after the events, they were like, I want to have this conversation with my, and I don't have friends. I know you do, Jill, but a lot of the women I was working with, they were like, I couldn't talk to my friends about this. I couldn't explain to them what I'm doing. They would think I'm whatever the word might be. And really hit me like, gosh, I am so privileged in that I have people like you, I have friends like you, I have other friends who this is our normal conversation. We're going deep whenever we want about what's really moving in us and what's happening. For me, it was how can I create that sort of healing environment for people
Yeah.
that feel like they want to be in community. They want a group of women to be like, shit, this is normal. This is
Yeah.
allowed. And this is actually acceptable and lovable in me that I'm doing this work with other people.
Yeah. It's so needed. And like I would say, like being surrounded by a really amazing community of friends here has really amplified this work because even being able to go over in a given week, being what we did that week, what made a difference, what I was examining, getting that reassurance back from them really allowed for me to feel like it was normal, like to have things like this to work through. Other people were so interested in this work, and that felt very normalizing in a good way, but really allowed me to integrate what was happening to me a lot more quickly. And I would just say a thank you to the Zaras, the Tonys, the Debbies of this world for being an amazing circle to have around me as I was doing this deep work with you.
Yeah, it's huge having people that normalize it, all of this healing and this growth and this struggle. Also, sometimes the depths of it is hard to normalize. So, yeah, the mastermind for those interested in cultivating that community, that friendship group for themselves, will begin in June 2025. Jill, I would love to ask a book or a song or a quote that has unlocked something in you. And it doesn't have to be during our time, it can be over your lifetime. Is there something that really stood out that spoke to your soul?
Just very relevant for this time in my life, the song I Feel Free. I think it's by Cream.
What is one thing you're no longer available for?
Try and choose one. Like putting myself in a role or a job to impress other people instead of to make myself happy.
What is one area of your life you're still expanding into? What feels like it's opening up currently for you?
Yeah, just that self-trust because I think it's built over time. So the more time that passes, the more it feels like it's there.
Yeah, lovely. Jill, thank you
Mhm.
so much. Love
Welcome.
that. That was brilliant. Well, thank you for everybody who's listening on Catch Up, who's listening on Instagram. And yeah, there will be more process episodes coming, but that was a beautiful one to start us off with. So thank you so much, Jill. And we'll
Thank
chat
you,
to you soon.
Maria. Bye-bye.
My pleasure. For anybody who is excited about being in community, for this to be the normal conversation, and really, it's for women who are ready for change or transition in their life. So that could be with health, that could be with career, relationships, friendships, environment. What really excites me is helping people and supporting people feel confident to want more for themselves and also at the same time unlock what are the stories and what are the limiting beliefs that might be holding them back in that transition or before that change. It's a small group mastermind, begin in June. And the option is always there to work one to one with me as part of the mastermind. So you can begin your 6 month journey at any stage. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.